For Nancy Guthrie, I have heard people make claims that even when a phone is turned off, it still pings towers, which is not true.
In the search for Nancy Guthrie, straight out to Crime Stories, investigative reporter
Something happened in the neighborhood the night Nancy Guthrie disappeared, and investigators now believe it could completely change how this crime was carried out. Federal agents recently returned to the quiet Catalina Foothills neighborhood in Tucson, but they weren't knocking on doors asking about suspicious vehicles. They weren't asking about strangers walking the streets late at night. Instead, they asked residents one specific question, a question almost no one expected. When did your internet stop working the night Nancy vanished? Several homeowners later confirmed that agents asked them that exact question, the same one, over and over again. And the moment that detail surfaced, investigators realized something unsettling. Because if multiple houses experienced internet glitches that night, it could mean someone deliberately interfered with the neighborhood's wireless network. Which raises a chilling possibility. Was the internet outage part of the plan? And if it was, then the person responsible may have tried to erase himself from the digital world before committing the crime. But that was only the beginning, because the internet question leads directly to the most important piece of technology in this entire case. Nancy's doorbell camera. That small device mounted near the front door was the only camera positioned to capture whoever approached her home in the early hours of February 1st. If it had worked normally, investigators might have had a clear image of the suspect within hours. Instead, what happened with that camera became one of the strangest mysteries in the investigation. According to the timeline released by investigators, the doorbell camera suddenly disconnected around 1:47 in the morning. Then, roughly 20 minutes later, motion was detected near the porch, but no video was saved. And not long after that, Nancy's pacemaker stopped transmitting data to her phone. 3 technical events, all happening in the same narrow window of time. At first, officials believed the explanation might be simple. The camera system didn't have an active cloud subscription, meaning footage wouldn't automatically upload to online storage. Without cloud recording, investigators initially believed the system had captured nothing at all. But something about that explanation never fully satisfied experts. Because there are only a few ways a smart camera like that suddenly loses connection. Someone could physically damage it, someone could block the lens, or someone could interfere with the wireless signal it relies on. And that's where the investigation took an unexpected turn. Smart home cameras depend heavily on Wi-Fi. Without a stable internet connection, they lose the ability to upload recordings to the cloud. So if the Wi-Fi signal disappears at the exact moment someone approaches a house, the camera might fail to capture usable footage. That's why investigators became so interested in reports of internet problems from nearby homes. If those reports are accurate, it raises a disturbing possibility. Someone may have intentionally disrupted the neighborhood's wireless network. One theory involves something known as a signal jammer. These devices can interfere with wireless signals by flooding the airwaves with radio noise. When activated, nearby Wi-Fi routers can temporarily lose connection. Smart cameras might disconnect, internet service might glitch, and for someone trying to avoid being recorded, that kind of disruption could be incredibly useful. But just when that theory started gaining attention, another explanation surfaced. Former FBI agent Jennifer Coffindaffer closely examined the small amount of footage investigators were able to recover, and she noticed something most viewers completely overlooked. In the suspect's pocket, there appeared to be a small object, with what looked like a thin antenna sticking out. Her interpretation was different from the jammer theory. She suggested the object might actually be a walkie-talkie, and if that's true, it changes the entire scenario. Because a radio implies communication, which could mean someone else was nearby, someone acting as a lookout, someone coordinating movements with the person standing on the porch. If that theory is correct, the disappearance may not have been the work of a single individual. It may have involved a team. But investigators are also exploring another possibility that sounds even more calculated. What if the internet glitches didn't happen only that night? And what if they happened earlier, during the planning stage? Some experts believe whoever carried out the crime may have spent time studying the neighborhood beforehand, driving through late at night, observing security cameras, testing wireless signals. If someone briefly activated a signal interference device during those scouting trips, nearby residents might have experienced small internet disruptions without realizing anything suspicious was happening. Those minor glitches could actually represent trial runs, digital rehearsals before the real event, and that possibility is exactly why investigators are now asking residents to remember even the smallest internet problems they experienced in the days leading up to the disappearance. Because every connection drop leaves a trace, and traces can tell a story. But the biggest surprise in this investigation came when experts examined the camera itself. Even though the system disconnected, even though there was no cloud subscription, investigators still managed to recover footage. FBI Director Kash Patel later confirmed that specialists extracted fragments of video data from back-end systems connected to the device. In simple terms, when video travels through the internet, it passes through multiple layers of processing before reaching final storage. During that process, small pieces of data can remain temporarily stored in different parts of the system. And in this case, those fragments became critical evidence. Forensic analysts spent days reconstructing the data and pulling every recoverable frame they could find. What they recovered was the brief clip now seen by millions, the masked figure standing outside Nancy's home. What investigators also discovered that the suspect had attempted to hide the camera by placing leaves from a nearby plant in front of the lens. But the attempt didn't completely block the view, and those few seconds of footage survived, which means the person responsible may have made a mistake. Meanwhile, investigators are quietly building a much larger digital picture of what happened that night. They're examining rotor logs from local internet providers, analyzing cell tower records, one studying devices that connected to nearby networks around the time of the disappearance. Because in modern investigations, digital footprints can reveal details criminals never intended to leave behind. Every phone connects to towers, every router logs disruptions. Every network event creates a timestamp somewhere. Investigators are now searching for anomalies. Phones that appeared in the area but don't belong to residents. Devices that connected briefly and then vanished. Signals that show up repeatedly in the days before the crime. Even the reported internet disruptions themselves could help pinpoint where the suspect was standing. Signal interference devices have limited range. Many consumer-level devices only affect signals within a short distance. So if multiple houses experience disruptions at the same time, investigators can estimate where the signal originated. That could narrow the search to a specific block, or even a specific parked vehicle. In other words, the internet outage that someone may have caused could actually reveal their location. Right now, investigators believe the person responsible came prepared. Prepared to deal with cameras, prepared to manipulate technology, prepared with a plan. But even the most careful plans leave traces. And the digital world records far more than most people realize. The suspect may have believed the cameras were blind. He may have believed the internet went dark. But he may have believed no one saw what happened. But somewhere inside network logs, cell tower records, and fragments of recovered footage, investigators believe the truth is still waiting to be uncovered. And sometimes, the smallest glitch, the one nobody thought twice about, becomes the clue that exposes everything.